Amnesia the Bunker is the newest release in the Amnesia series of horror games by developer Frictional Games. It released on June 6th of 2023, which at the time of this video is a little over a month ago, meaning that everyone has already played, beaten, reviewed, and forgotten about it. But since I reviewed the last game and it's been a little while since my last upload, I figured that I might as well make my own quick review. Consider this filler, I guess, until my next project comes out, which I think's gonna be kind of interesting, but it's gonna take a little while. Anyway, let's get started. You play as Henry Clement, a French World War I soldier who wakes up after an attempted rescue of his comrade. With titular amnesia, Henry must navigate the titular The Bunker to escape. The story of what went down in this bunker is slowly revealed through written notes and journal entries you collect as you explore. The story is tragic and unsettling, and the writing is all pretty good, and there's a bit of voice acting, and it's actually not bad at all. In addition to notes and letters, you can also collect dog tags from the fallen soldier, some of which provide codes to the many lockers in the storage area. There's some nice goodies in there, some story progression related, and unlocking them is a nice little added goal for completionists. The game is a bit more open, I guess, than previous titles, but this is not an open world or even semi-open world game. I say that because a lot of articles that I read about it tout it as such. Were they paid to say this, or can modern video game reviewers not describe games without using the term open world? This is a fairly standardly linear horror game. Having a bunch of linear areas, but being able to choose what order you do them in, isn't exactly open world. And some areas are locked until you've progressed to basically completion in other areas, so really there's just a few divergent paths here and there that you can take. And thank freaking gosh, I can't imagine a game like this actually being semi-open world. That would be terrible. The game also constantly tells you through loading screens and whatnot that there are multiple ways to go about completing the game, but really that mostly boils down to which of the few ways you're going to open a door, by force or by finding the key. There's no menu map, instead you get a map on the wall in the safe room, which you can reveal detailed areas by exploring them. All the areas have generally the same assets: wooden barrels, chests, tables, shelves, chairs, I guess stuff that you'd expect to see in a military bunker. From watching the video, you probably wouldn't be able to tell one area from the other, but it's not as bad as I'm probably making it sound. And there are a few areas that change things up a bit as well. While exploring, you will find navigation and exploration related puzzles, though they're more like little challenges, I guess. There are no physical puzzles from what I can tell, in contrast to Rebirth, which had a few that I can recall, and even The Dark Descent, which had some lever-based puzzles. There are some dangers throughout the bunker, however. There are rats that typically swarm around dead bodies. They can be dealt with a number of ways, but burning the body will dispel them from that area permanently. There are also several pre-laid booby traps that can be avoided or disarmed if you found the appropriate tools. There are many of these tools to find throughout the game, and within the first few minutes, you find your first tool, a gun. Now, I can't be the only one who immediately saw this and was like, a gun? In my horror game? I don't know about this. But this is not a shooter. The gun is a tool, just like the bolt cutters, the wrench, and the lighter, though you probably will use it primarily for combat. It does have other uses such as shooting padlocks off doors or creating distractions. Distractions from what, though, you may ask? Well, for probably the most notable of the game's obstacles, the beast. Now personally, I usually find this kind of wandering big bad to avoid more annoying than scary, and here is sadly no exception. The beast is an ever-present entity that is roaming the bunker along with Henry. It can remain hidden, but will oftentimes come out of hiding to hunt from the various holes in the wall. It is attracted to loud noises. Subtle things such as running or cranking the flashlight may not gain its attention, but firing a gun or creating an explosion is almost guaranteed to summon the beast. You can try to stay as silent as possible, but confrontations will happen. And there are a few things you can do in that situation. You can try to evade the beast. If you stay hidden, it will search the area for a time and eventually, sometimes after a long while, crawl back into a hole, leaving you safe at least temporarily. You could also just leave the area if you can do it without being seen. Indeed, one tactic would be to make a lot of noise in an area far away from where you actually went to explore to kind of lure the beast away, and any light that the beast gets near will flicker, which can kind of help you track where it is. Also, when close to the beast, you can hear Henry's heart beating faster. The closer you are, the faster and the louder the heartbeat is, another tool to help you track which way you should go. This is especially useful in the dark. You have the option to also engage the beast, directly in combat. The gun will work, shooting it will stun it for a bit before it runs away, but the next time it comes back, it'll take more shots to get it to run. However, a shot will always stun it, so if you're low on ammo or trying to conserve, you can shoot it once and then use the time that it's stunned to just run away. The game also offers many other types of weaponry to deal with the beast if you so choose: grenades, gas grenades, molotovs, and more. Though using these in a pinch can be tricky, you can also lure the beast into some of the various traps that you can find that are already set. Unfortunately, you can't set any of these traps yourself. Now, despite all these complex systems for stealthing, there are some flaws. For one, it's sometimes ambiguous what can cause the beast to pop in. Running versus walking? Not really sure. Cranking your flashlight? Yes, a bad idea when the beast has already spawned, but when it's in hiding? Sometimes you can crank it all day and not even hear a roar. Other times you crank it once and it's killing you before you can even turn around. Actually trying to stealth in practice can just sometimes fail. It feels natural, at least to me, that if the beast is a good distance away and doesn't see you as you quietly enter your room and shut the door behind you and sit crouching in complete darkness and silence, the beast should not enter that room. But here it does almost every time. Most of my complaints about the beast come from an area in the early game called Maintenance. It's a very narrow hallway and it just absolutely kicked my ass. I died several times trying to sneak by, stealthing in what I thought was the intended way to play, what felt natural to my gamer's instinct, trying to use all the game's mechanics that I could to my advantage, only to have the beast come up out of nowhere. I died over and over again, eventually just throwing myself at the area until everything just kind of lined up and let me through. Now, I am willing to admit that it could just be that I suck in general, or I played the game a little too impatiently, or just failed to understand something crucial at that early stage of the game. I should also mention that there's a generator that you can power that lights up most of the bunker, which significantly reduces the chance of the beast to spawn. However, when it does spawn, all of these complaints that I have are still present, except now you can see a little better. And the generator runs on fuel, which is kind of scarce that early and better used for other things. And besides slowing the game way down and being an annoyance, I think the beast was used way too much. I believe that the less you see of an enemy, the scarier they are. That's why characters like Sauron are so terrifying. You can see his influence everywhere, but he never appears nor even speaks in the books. That's also why the Borg were so much scarier before Voyager started spoiling all their mysteries and defeating them pretty much every other episode. Maybe they originally planned to use the beast more sparingly, but near the end of development, someone said, hey, the games are too short or they're not hard enough, and now you literally can't walk 10 feet without seeing a monster hole. Or maybe I'm just being a bit harsh on the beast because it killed me so much. Anyway, let's move on. So if the beast isn't scary here, what is? Well, there are no jump scares really, except an occasional random boom from above at a bomb landing, I assume, complete with screen shake and controller rumble if you're using a controller. There's very little music besides ambient chimings here and there, so that can make these booms even more jarring when they happen in complete silence. The game uses a ton of echo on basically every sound effect, which changes based on the area that you're in to simulate realism. Sound also ties heavily into the beast, such as the aforementioned noise and heartbeat mechanics. You can also tell what the beast is doing based on the sounds that it's making. I didn't play this game with a good set of headphones, so maybe there's more to it here, but there's just not much to say. The sound design is adequate. And speaking of being adequate, let's talk graphics. They're adequate. They are not bad, but don't expect this game to be cutting edge, melt your GPU, triple ray traced RTX. And they don't have to be. Better graphics or worse graphics, I feel, would neither add nor detract from this game. Again, not much to say here. Taking place mostly in just one area, there isn't a huge variety of assets either, but again, it's not really that bad. There aren't any surreal moments either like you'd see in games like Outlast or Blair Witch. This is good as it helps ground the game more in reality. Save for the giant wandering creature, everything is mostly believable. There is one area near the end of the game that has a kind of otherworld feel, though I don't think this would be a proper Amnesia game without it. As for gameplay, it's pretty fun, especially if you've ever played any of the other Amnesia games or games like it and enjoyed those experiences. You explore, you progress, and you uncover pieces of the story, all while trying to stay alive. As usual, there's an inventory system here, and even a bit of crafting through combining items. You have a limited amount of inventory space, but you can expand it by finding fanny packs throughout the bunker as exploration rewards. You're going to want as many of these as you can get, as it feels like half your inventory is dedicated to non-consumable tools that are practically required. There's a storage locker in the safe room as well, but it too has limited space, though you can just drop all your items on the ground as they never despawn. And the crafting here reminds me of Resident Evil 4 a little bit. You can craft Molotovs, torches, bandages, and other things. Your health is represented by how bloodied Henry's hand is when you bring up the item menu, and of course a red vignette around the screen. And finally, one other minor complaint that I had was that I wish the GOG version had achievements, because from what I've seen, besides the totally unnecessary walk here type achievements that every game has, it has some pretty cool ones. I really wish more games kept track of achievements in-game instead of relying on some crappy launcher, but I guess that's a price I have to pay for no DRM. And that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say about Amnesia the Bunker. It feels a lot closer to the first game this time around. I had fun once I stopped dying so much, but I'm not sure if I'd recommend it if you aren't already a fan of the series or games like them. A Machine for Pigs is still my favorite, followed by Dark Descent, and I recall having more fun with Rebirth than I did with Bunker. Like Rebirth, it just lacks a certain something that I can't quite place. A certain feel that you know it when you see it, and for me, Frictional has missed that mark now twice in a row. This game checks all the boxes except for the most important one. Does this game do more than check all the boxes? Quick note, there is an entry in the menu for custom stories, which is basically a level editor, a returning feature from the previous games. And I guess it's a little too early for anything substantial because I couldn't really find anything, but there's some potential there for some really cool stuff, so I might pick the game back up in a little while from now and check in. But for now, one playthrough is enough for me. Honestly, I think I had the most fun right before the point of no return, when I went back and tried to collect everything that I'd missed, carrying around a cinder block that I had named Bricky McBrickface. That's it for this review. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Boss Raid.